J.Y. Ferry Son is a family-owned ranch located on the Bear River Delta in Utah. The Ferrys have been living and working on this land for more than a century.
My great-grandfather immigrated here right after the railroad at the turn of the century. We're a family operation. I'm fourth generation. I operate on our ranch with my brother, and I have a son who's coming along on the fifth generation.
We are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors that came out here over 120 years ago. We take it serious, the responsibility we have for the legacy of their past and for the future of this operation.
Water has been a critical factor in the long-term success of J.Y. Ferry Son. The Ferrys consider the Bear River the heart of their operation, since it provides irrigation water for crops and stock water for cattle.
Where we're located is the very end of the Bear River, where it deltas out, right where it enters into the Great Salt Lake. And so we have this water resource that's really unique. It creates this oasis in the desert.
And so we have to be mindful of that and make sure that we are practicing conservation 365 days out of the year, 24/7, because we capture the water, make use of it before it goes into the Great Salt Lake.
Over the years, the Ferry family has removed invasive species along the Bear River and fenced their cattle away from sensitive riparian areas. They also relocated a feed yard that used to be next to the river.
It turned out to be a really good opportunity for us to kind of get a new, updated feed yard, as well as moving an operation that could potentially have some conflict with the environment into an area that was more stable.
We tore it down. We tore out the cement and relocated that to a more conducive place as far as the feedlot operation is concerned, and also the environment. And right now, where it used to be cattle, it's now pumpkins for a pumpkin patch.
A majority of the range used by the Ferry family for grazing is considered wetlands. Historically, grazing wetlands has been viewed in a negative light. But through years of careful hard work, the Ferrys have demonstrated benefits to the practice. The biggest was when they discovered one of Utah's most noxious and invasive weeds is actually quite palatable to cattle.
Our cow herd is wetland-based, and the vegetation that's in the wetland is varied, but the one that's a challenge is a species called Phragmites. Phragmites is an invasive weed. And the reason it's invasive because you cannot naturally control it. Historically, Phragmites has been controlled by herbicide, by spraying it to kill it. But we've discovered in our own operation that we can control Phragmites by grazing it.
For when you spray it, you kill everything. When you burn it, you kill everything. When you drought it, you kill everything. And we have been places where they haven't had cattle ever, and it is just a thick jungle mess of Phragmites. You can't walk through it. There's no habitat whatsoever for anything, for any birds or any ducks or geese or anything. And that's where we come in, because you have cattle that are trained, recognize what the plant is. They will graze on it, select it out, and all of a sudden you are turning a disaster into a grazing opportunity.
It pushes the birds out and the wildlife species that would traditionally use these wetland areas. And so by grazing it, what you do is you're pushing back, you're preventing it from spreading. And what we've been able to show is that done the right way, proper management of cattle in these wetland areas actually improves the wetlands. And so the cattle are a very important tool that we use.
Federal and state agencies have also caught on to the benefits of grazing wetlands. And for the past several years, the Ferrys have run some of their cattle on public lands.
We graze on U.S. wetlands managed by the Department of Fish and Wildlife Service, and we're able to control and maintain and hold back the spreading of the Phragmites. And the end result is you have a multiple use benefit for cattle, and you have much greater ducks and geese and shorebirds because they have an open supply of nesting areas and so forth.
We're benefiting other producers as well by showing how we can turn something that's a problem for the state or problem for government agencies and benefit our industry. And really, I think that's a huge success story. There are literally thousands of cattle now in the valley grazing on Phragmites every summer on these different areas.
Without the cows, we couldn't accomplish our Phragmites control objectives. So it's a super important tool that we have in the toolbox. And without grazing, without the Ferry family, I think we would not be doing as well.
The sustainable practices the Ferrys are using today are helping to ensure that future generations will be able to work this land and protect its natural beauty.
Sustainability to me means managing the resource in such a way that it's here for generations. My kids and my grandkids can continue to farm and ranch and enjoy this beautiful area the way I do.
As we think about the improvements that we've made, I don't think that previous generations would even recognize it. And I think that our efforts would be looked on with great pleasure.
Every day I'm out on this place, I look at it and say, this is what my grandfather started. What am I doing with it? Because I feel there's going to be an accountability. And I need to be able to proudly say that I did the best I could, took what was here, improved upon it, and passed it on.